WPSL and WSTU, it is time for your official access with Martin County. Here's your host, Bob Hoganson.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having us. We're here today. We're going to talk a little bit about Martin County and all the great stuff that's going on. Again, official access with Martin County here. Bob Hoganson, I'm the operations manager for Martin County Television, cable channel 20 on Comcast, where we broadcast all our meetings, all the official board-mandated meetings, and we also do a lot of fun programming. But today we're here talking with a couple guests. My first guest is Kevin Abate. He is the director of our Parks and Recreation Department. Kevin, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And remember, it starts with parks, so we're first.
You're first on the line today. So, Kevin, we have such a tremendous park system. And, I think a lot of people have all visited a park from time to time, whether it's biking or kayaking or going to a wedding at one of our parks. But the parks have so much going on here in Martin County. I'm going to start with a real broad question. What do we offer at our parks here in Martin County?
I think we offer just about everything you can think of when you want to be outside or inside. I mean, you can, from your HOA meeting to going to a public beach, having breakfast on the beach or lunch on the beach, or we host many weddings. We have 9 community centers, after-school programs, summer camps, a water park, a golf course, a public campground. There are hiking trails. There's so many things that we offer. We also have a lot of agreements with like leaseholders. We have the Children's Museum of the Treasure Coast inside Indian Riverside Park. We have the Treasure Coast Rowing Club inside one of our parks at Charlie Layton. So we have a lot going on. The U.S. Sailing Center at Indian Riverside Park. Lots of partnerships. Hal Patioki, South River Outfitters. So kayaking, paddleboarding. There's nothing that we don't offer program-wise. And if we don't offer it, we usually outsource it.
Another thing that's really cool and kind of coming into its own the last couple years is disc golf. And you were telling me earlier off air about our new disc golf course. Talk about that a little bit and what that means for people interested in that.
Yeah, the best way to explain it, disc golf is a disc is a frisbee. It's called frisbee golf, disc golf. Very popular sport around the U.S. Martin County does not have a disc golf course. So one of our goals last year during our parks strategic planning session was to find funding and to expand this program, or to actually just create it. We didn't expand it, we created it. So we created a 10-hole course over at Hal Patioki Regional Park, right off I-95. And it's in a soft, you can play it now. The signage will come in. You can play it now. The concrete pads are there and the basket's there. It's just like golf, but you throw a frisbee, a disc, into a basket. It's a heavier disc, and it's a fun game. It's challenging. You're outside. The course is, I think it's counterclockwise throughout Hal Patioki Regional Park, so we want everyone to come out and play. And we'll be posting stuff on our Facebook page when we officially open the course.
And beyond Hal Patioki, which is an amazing park, which has a ton of stuff to do, any kind of outdoor activity, we also have a world-class Sailfish Splash water park, which, if you haven't been there, it's a must-do in Martin County. I mean, the kids can have fun. It's got the big lap pool, the dive well there. And talk about that park a little bit and what you guys also just accomplished with the state championships.
Sure. Let's start off with this first. For the listeners, at the end of the show, we'll give away something real special related to that park. How about that? We'll give out 10 of something if you listen, and just get your pen and paper ready, and we'll have an email address for you to email us. We'll give out something really exciting, a pretty good value in my opinion, and we'll announce it at the end of the show.
It's a nice little tease coming up in a few minutes. So
that means you have to listen to the rest of the.
You got to listen
parks.
for a few more minutes. We're going to give you guys an email address and a subject line, and you'll be entered into something really good here coming up.
Yeah.
But talk about the water park and how special that is for Martin County.
Yeah, it's Sailfish Splash Water Park is it's one of the most unique facilities in the United States. It's a great business model, if you will. The fun side of the water park, which is a 4-story high tower, water slide tower, has 2 rides on it, and a 1,000-foot lazy river, a 7,000 square foot children's water playground, birthday parties, cabanas, gift stores, all that fun stuff we do every year. We open up this Saturday. It may not be as warm as we'd like, but we're going to open up on Saturday for spring break I think we open at 10 o'clock or 10:30. Check our website out at sailfishsplash.com. We open up, and then we start our run all the way through the end of Labor Day weekend. So we do about 124 operating days. And then on the other side of the park is the competitive side, which is a 50-meter Olympic-sized swimming pool and a dive well, and we have a learn-to-swim program. The water park and the competitive side are unique because the recreational side brings in all the revenue and helps fund the entire project. And the budget for the water park is about $1.4 million, and we bring just about $1.4 million in, depending on the weather. Sometimes we do a little bit better. Sometimes we have break-even years. It's all weather dependent. But we just ended our last contract year for the Florida High School Athletic Association swimming and diving finals. It is the largest swim meet in Florida, and we went out for a rebid. We put our name in the hat again to seek a request for a bid, and we won. The state of Florida officials decided that we were again worthy of another 3-year contract with 2 one-year options. So what that does for this county, it brings about 8,000 people in over 2 weekends in November. It is significant economic impact, over $1 million a year for just that one meet. We also host the second largest swim meet, the FSPA meet, the Florida Pool and Spa meet, the Florida Pool and Spa meet, which is in September. So we host some large swim meets. We do about 40 meets a year. And the economic driving part of that facility, the competitive side, since we've opened, has brought more than $14 million to the economy for Martin County. So it's been a great project. It's a lot of fun there. There's having your birthday party, or just we have a Friday, a family fun Friday thing we have, and a lot of moms and young children come in. They're not of school age, come in on us on Fridays for 4 hours. We open up the water playground, and we just do a lot of fun stuff there. And it's a great facility for this county, and we also employ a lot of people. We have 136 employees, mainly Martin County employees. We provide them. We probably have provided more than 500 first jobs for kids out of high school, which is great.
Again, you're listening to Official Access with Martin County. I'm your host, Bob Hoganson, sitting here talking with Kevin Abate, our Parks and Recreation Director. Another big asset that the county has, besides the incredible water park, is the golf course. And this has been a very popular golf course over the years, 36 holes out there, 2 18-hole courses. And historic in nature. Some of the holes are actually some of the original holes built in the early 1900s, really.
Correct, yeah.
And so it's on the Florida Historic Golf Trail. And just a beautiful course. It's been redone over the years to really pristine playing conditions. But you're even looking to upgrade it even further. Talk about what's going on at the golf course right now.
Yep. So we received direction from our Board of County Commissioners to start the design process to create a new clubhouse. The clubhouse was torn down about 3 years ago. It was an older clubhouse, about 48 years old, and just in not really great condition. So we're looking at the future of the facility. We're not looking at 10 years down the road. We're looking at this is the future. So we are now just finished schematic design of a new elevated clubhouse, because right off of St. Lucie Boulevard, if you can imagine, we slope up to about 12 feet high. So the carts will be underneath this clubhouse, and on the top, the first floor, the only floor, we'll have a bar and grill that overlooks the new driving range that we intend to be lighted. We have all new holes coming in, new holes going out. So the red and white course have holes coming in, coming out. Then hole number 9 and hole number 1 for the red course and the white course, and new practice facilities. And those are some of the things that we thought were important. Was practicing. We feel that the golf most folks, golf was on a decline for a while, but the practice facilities, the new clubhouse, trying to have the best economy of scale facility that we can to host meetings, chamber meetings, whatever we can. And so I think that's another public venue, and we're looking to hopefully put another jewel in the crown of Martin County.
And when can golfers expect to see that all good to go and ready to park those carts under the clubhouse?
Well, it's a matter of funding, and that's what we're looking at now. We have money to design. That's our focus now. I'll be meeting with the commission this March 27th. We have a discussion about the clubhouse and its cost to the county, and what that means for us and how we'll fund it. So that'll be our challenge. We have design money. The board has, the public, the board, the National Golf Foundation, the Golf Course Advisory Committee. We're moving forward on their wishes. It's not going to be an inexpensive project because it's a 2-story building, quite frankly. And the square footage of the building is about 10,000 square feet on the top and the bottom. And that's mainly because to house all the carts.
And this course has been so popular over the years. I think I read something that in the 80s or early 90s, it was one of the top played per round courses in the entire country. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So Martin County, and today too, we look at what they called back in that day a round of golf was either 9 or 18 holes. So when you look at pure rounds of golf with 9 or 18, however you want to qualify it, there's a lot of 9-hole play right now in our course. About 60% is 9-hole play, and it's folks just want to go in, play 9, and go home, whether they're going to walk it or they're going to use the cart. So they had approached close to 200,000 rounds of golf, whether it was 9-hole or 18. We call them starts now, 9-hole or 18-hole starts. That's a little bit more accurate number. But we still have those same trending numbers relative to the percentage of 9-hole rounds. But in its heyday, Martin County Golf Course, or at that time Golf and Country Club, was the busiest golf course in the U.S. Things have changed, of course. We have 35 courses in Martin County, but we still are the only true public golf course.
You're listening to Official Access with Martin County. I'm your host, Bob Hoganson. I'm sitting here with Kevin Abate, our Parks and Recreation Director. Really appreciate you coming in, Kevin.
Thank you.
Martin County is also unique in the sense that we are an fully accredited Parks and Recreation Department. I think across the country there's 12,000 publicly funded Parks and Recreation divisions. We're one of about 150 total in the entire country that are accredited. What exactly does that mean to be accredited? I know there's about 150 stringent steps that need to be taken. That's probably not the right word, steps, but standards that need to be completed, and we have consistently completed all of these steps in the Parks Department. What does that mean for the citizens of Martin County and the visitors here to go to a park system that is fully accredited like that?
Well, so for the public, what it means is that they're going to have well-administered services, and professional practices. That's it. Those are some of the things. It helps us realize. It holds us accountable and to the public, and ensures that we're responsive to their needs. And so when you do that, that helps us improve our customer and quality of our services. At the end of the day, that's what it does for us. So what the department helps us, we benchmark against other agencies, how well we compare. It helps us enhance our teamwork of our staff. And it provides a self-evaluation is what it does, a self-evaluation of 155 standards, well over probably close to 1,000 pages of documentation of prove that you exist, in the simplest format. Prove that you're a publicly funded agency and tell us why and how did you get there and how did you accomplish that through what resolutions or what Florida statutes. That's the first one of 1.1 as we go to 155 standards. And I'm proud to say that we got reaccredited in 2016. We were first accredited in 1999, and we were the 26th agency in the U.S. to get accredited. So we've been doing this for a long time. So what I look at is that we're in the top 1% of all public agencies in the U.S. because most agencies don't want to take this responsibility on because it's very difficult to do. I mean, Palm Beach County, a great park system to our south is not accredited. There's about 24 agencies in the U.S., and there's over 600 park agencies just in Florida. So it takes a lot of hard work, and we passed all 155 standards.
And some of these standards go from the basic things that you can see, like do you have recycling at the parks? Do you have proper garbage disposal? But it also looks at your finances and your HR side of things and sort of internally how the department's run and how it's structured. And the fact that we're able to pass all 155 standards when you can really only miss like one or two of those standards and you don't get accredited.
Correct.
Is really a testament to what you do in your department. Kevin, I want to thank you for being here today. You're listening to Official Access with Martin County on 1450 WSTU and 1590 WPSL. I've been sitting here chatting with Kevin Abate with our Parks Department, the Director of Martin County Parks and Recreation. Kevin, thank you again so much for being here. And we're going to be right back with another Martin County department. And I'm just going to give you a little tiny hint of who we're talking to next. It's going to sound sort of like this. Bzzz.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff about the accreditation, Kevin. This is really a great department. If you haven't checked out any of the parks here, you got to go. All kinds of stuff to do. But before I let you go, now's the time for our big giveaway that we teased ahead a few minutes ago. What are we giving away?
Okay, we're going to give away 10 family 4-packs to Sailfish Splash Water Park for 2018. The $60 value per 4-pack. And here's what you got to write down. You're gonna email splash@sailfishsplash.com and put in the subject line, I love Sailfish Splash. The first 10 to email us will get the family 4-packs.
All right, so if you're driving in your car, pull over real quick. Don't do it while you're driving, or hand the phone to your kids in the back, or whoever's sitting with you in the car. Email splash@sailfishsplash.com. That's the water park's website, splash@sailfishsplash.com. And all you got to do is in the subject line, type I love Sailfish Splash. And the first 10 people that email us, starting right now, you're going to get a response, and you're going to figure out a way. You're going to be able to come down to Sailfish Splash and claim your tickets. They're going to be good for
the entire 2018 season. We open on March the 10th.
Try to get a test.
Yeah.
Test for that.
Go ahead and you can.
Test. Test. I don't hear jack crap. Test.
No, well, I
No.
hear
Very
you.
loud
No,
to
that's
me.
good. All right.
Are
Can
the
you hear me
headphones
at
too
all?
loud for you?
No, it's fine.
No, that's good.
No, my thing is all jacked up, or my jack is jacked up.
Maybe it's
Test,
probably
test.
the wire.
It's something right in here.
Yeah.
Test.
Do you want to try? I mean, it would only be one
Test,
headphone,
test,
but you
test,
can use the other ones if you want.
Test. Come on.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Well, that's important.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're good. All right, so
Okay.
when we come back, do you want me to say, and you're back? Are you introducing it again, or am I?
What do you want to do?
I'll do it. Hear myself? Check. All right. I can hear myself out of my left ear.
You want to try these?
No, you're good. Do your thing, man. I'm good. I just wanted to hear that to make sure I'm not.
All right, so you'll hear the music, and then you can start whenever.
And we're back.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You're going to have to teach me enthusiasm.
Yeah, I can tell you're like a caricature of like a sad mosquito person. Just
Listen, I had 1 cup of coffee today.
oh, come on, man.
Insufficient.
They probably have coffee here. Might go hook us up.
I
Mike,
can make you some tea.
no, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Run over to Stewart Coffee and get some coffee.
I had my little K cup of whatever it is not very good, but it is like the oh crap,
Donut
French
shop?
roast. No, the donut shop is no good. But
No,
You
yuck.
said that wasn't
The,
that
I
good.
don't like
the
the donut
donut
shop.
shop's gross.
It's gross.
This one's too. This is the Starbucks French roast, I think. It's like high octane.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, but it's like really, I don't know what the right word is for it. Bitter, I guess. And strong.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I know. I don't like
Chock
French
full of
roast.
nuts. That's the way to go.
I like. Oh hell, I don't know. We'll wait till we get on air and we'll talk about coffee.
Let's do it.
You guys ready?
Yeah. And we're back. I'm Bob Hoganson, the host of Martin County's official access show here on 1450 WSTU and 1590 WPSL. We just spoke with Kevin Abate, our director of parks, had a great conversation with him. We teased ahead to our next guest. I'd like to welcome Kylie Zerbel, our mosquito control division manager. Hello, Kylie. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me.
So it's not quite the rainy season yet, but wanted to bring you on today because mosquitoes are always a big deal in the Treasure Coast in South Florida. It's hot, it's humid. These little guys breed in the smallest amount of water, and I know we have very aggressive programs to help manage really what is a public health hazard, and some of these mosquitoes can actually transmit diseases and things of that nature. One of the new things I know we're doing is these gambusia fish. We've kind of had a program for a while with these fish. Now we have a very aggressive gambusia fish breeding program. These are the type of fish that you can actually put in ponds and canals, and they will eat mosquito larvae. Kylie, tell us about the program with these fish and what they're doing for the county.
Well, through the support of the Department of Health, we were able to have some extra money around. So we used it to invest in a 1,000-gallon fish tank. So basically, we're able to rear our own fish on site in our shop, and we're making about 20 babies a day. So we're going to be able to use these fish to stock them in standing water throughout the county.
And people can actually call you guys and request fish for their ponds or their canals in their backyards and things like that, right?
Yes, they can. They can call us up, request fish, and we'll drop them off at their house, and we can stock them in the water for you. It's a great service. It's something that we provide so that we don't have to rely so much on chemicals. So these fish can eat their body weight in mosquitoes every single day, so they can eat hundreds upon hundreds of larvae. So they are just voracious. They eat a ton, and they are one way to control the mosquitoes without having to send out our spray truck.
And that's really when you want to hit the mosquitoes as early in the larva stage, right? Because once they're out flying around, yeah, you can swat them with a fly swatter if you can catch them, or smack them between the hands, of course, or spray with the Raid or something like that. But once they're out and about, it's hard to control them. You really want to get them in the larva stage before they even become adult mosquitoes.
Absolutely. So you can imagine it's a lot easier to find standing water and to target that than it is to find and kill a flying mosquito. So when we actually send our trucks out, we have to send them at a certain time so that we're not hurting other organisms like our bees and our butterflies, while we're also trying to target the mosquitoes. And they have to be actively flying in the air when the truck goes by in order for them to get knocked down.
And you're referring to the fogger trucks that you may have seen come through your neighborhoods. It's like a pickup truck with basically a mist coming out the back.
Yeah.
And you really only use those under certain circumstances at certain times. But I know people ask a lot of questions about when those trucks are going to be in their neighborhoods. How can people find out about when a truck is coming into their neighborhood?
So all of our spraying is done on an as-needed basis, so there is no schedule, and that's a common misconception that we encounter. So basically, we have 25 traps set out throughout the county. We look at them, we see the areas where we have a lot of mosquito activity, especially if those mosquitoes are vector mosquitoes, which are ones that transmit disease, and then we send the trucks based upon that. So if you go onto our website, the Martin County website, and you type in the search bar
martin.fl.us.
That one, yeah. And you type in the search bar mosquito control, you can find some links there. So we have a map that we update every day by 4 p.m., and that shows where we're going to spray that evening. But we know that can be kind of difficult for people. So due to a lot of residents suggesting this new service, we decided to implement a prior notification email service. So if you go onto that website,
martin.fl.us,
that one, and type in mosquito control, you can go to prior notification for mosquito spraying, and you can enter in your email, enter in your residential address, and then you can use that information to figure out which zone you're in, and then we will send you an email anytime we're going to be in your neighborhood that night.
I know people get a little concerned when they see those fogging machines come through, but they're safe for humans, they're safe for pets. They really just target these specific mosquitoes, specifically the Aedes aegypti. Am I saying that right?
You are saying that right.
I know.
Good job.
I know
my coaching sessions are working.
I know, right? I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of different types of mosquitoes out there, but that is particularly one of the dangerous ones because they do transmit the West Nile virus. Not West Nile. They transmit
Zika virus.
The Zika virus.
Dengue virus,
dengue
which we had in Martin County.
So obviously, in high times of mosquito season, in the wet season, you do want to, take precautions when you go outside. I think everybody knows that. But I think one of the things that people maybe don't realize is that if you see a mosquito around your house, you may be the one actually breeding it in your yard or somewhere close by, your neighbors or someone, because these guys only have a small radius around from the time that they're born. Talk about that a little bit.
So Aedes aegypti is a very, very sneaky mosquito. So it only needs a very tiny little bit of water to breed in, so maybe a bottle cap, like you mentioned before, or flower pots. We find them a lot in clogged gutters or kiddie pools, kiddie toys, anything like that. So it just needs a very little bit of water, and it can breed, and they hang out around your house. They only fly about 600 feet from their breeding site, and they primarily feed on people. So they love human blood. It tastes great to them. So they're going to bite you as often as they can. And one of the interesting things about Aedes aegypti is that the behavior that it employs to bite people, it's very tentative. So it kind of, it will stick its proboscis in you.
Very technical.
Yeah, very technical. That's what it's called. Or some people call it its sucker. So it'll stick it in you, and then it'll pull it out, and it'll do it again and again and again and again. So it's like getting all these multiple tiny little shots, and that's why it spreads so many diseases.
You're listening to Official Access with Martin County on 1450 WSTU and 1590 WPSL. I'm Bob Hoganson, the host of today's show. I'm the operations manager for Martin County Television. But today I'm wearing my host hat, and we're talking about the vampires of Martin County, the little tiny vampires, little blood-sucking, annoying little creatures called mosquitoes, and specifically the Aedes aegypti mosquito. I'm here with our esteemed Martin County Mosquito Control Division Manager, Kylie Zerbel. Kylie, thank you again for being here today. We talked about how the mosquitoes are close to your house. Previously, I've done some video stories with the Mosquito Control Department, and I never really fully realized till I went out with a couple of your crews about how small amount of water these things can breed in. And you said it, but I think it bears mentioning again, is that they can breed in so much as a cap of a water bottle that maybe didn't get recycled or didn't get thrown away, that's just sitting in your yard, and it rains or your sprinklers come on overnight. And that little cap, it takes about 6 to 7 days for an egg to hatch in there, a larvae to hatch. And also things like bags of potato chips thrown away that maybe blow down the street. If there's any place for water to gather as much as like about an ounce of water, they can really breed. Some of the more obvious things that you might not think about are bigger places of water around containers, the little trays under your pots outside, and also the bromelade plants. I know that they become a problem too because they're so cup-like. It rains, the sprinklers get in there, and so people really need to be careful and flush those out and things of that nature. One of the things you guys really preach, there's a couple different names it goes by, drain and cover or tip and toss, we like to say. Talk about what homeowners should do around their house to make sure that they're not contributing to the breeding of these little vampires.
Well, the best thing that you can do is to complete a weekly inspection. So that's really important that you do it consistently because it only takes a week to breed a mosquito. So basically, if you go around your yard and you look for areas that collect water, you can either throw the container out, you can tip it over, you could drill holes in it so it no longer collects water, or you could flush it out weekly. So sometimes like the bromeliad plants that you discussed a little earlier, if you take your hose and you just flush that out weekly, you're going to prevent a lot of mosquitoes from breeding in those plants.
And that's important to flush it out, get fresh, flush out the old water. If there's new water in there, that's okay, but make sure you flush it out in a couple days. There's also commercially available larvicides, right? The little granules you can throw in your bromelates. Talk about that a little bit.
So there are a bunch of different consumer products available that homeowners can buy, and they can apply them to different containers around their yard. So we particularly recommend any products that contain BTI or methoprene. So BTI is a bacteria, and the mosquito larvae will eat it, and then that will kill them. And then methoprene essentially prevents them from ever becoming adults. So they just stay as larvae forever until they die.
Really interesting stuff. Talking with Kylie Zerbel, our mosquito control manager at Martin County. One other program you guys have among many that I wanted to bring up is your tire drive. I know that a lot of people end up having old tires on the side of their house or, outside of the garage or whatever. And those tires are a prime spot for mosquitoes to breed because they get so neglected. You forget about them. They're half under a tarp or something like that. And I've actually gone out and done a story with you guys where we went and looked through some old tires and we scooped out in a big, or a cup's worth at the end of a big stick, essentially, scooping out the water, and you can just see the larvae like swimming around in there, and these things about ready to hatch out. Talk about the tire drives and how important it is to get those off of your property so that old stuff like that isn't collecting these larvae.
So mosquitoes absolutely love tires. So tires collect water, but they also collect leaves and other things lay their eggs in tires. So there's always plenty of food in a tire when it collects water. So the mosquitoes will lay their eggs and then the larvae will develop in there. And a single tire can produce hundreds upon hundreds of mosquitoes. So every April, this is our second annual tire drive, but we are going to conduct a tire recycle mania through a collaboration with our parks department and utilities. And essentially, what we do is we have a roll off located at various parks throughout the county, and we collect tires. People can come and drop them off for free. So that's kind of an incentive. Come by, give us your tire, we'll get rid of it for you, and we'll help you reduce mosquitoes around your house by doing that.
It's a really good program that we have. It was very successful last year. A lot of people, you got a lot of those tires out of people's houses that are contributing to the mosquitoes. Plus, you're recycling the tires, so it's
Right.
also a good thing for the environment as well.
And that's why we do it around April. So we do it before mosquito season really kicks off, and then we do it in honor of Earth Day.
And when does officially mosquito season kick off? When does it get really bad? Essentially the rainy season, I would imagine.
As soon as we get rain, we're going to see more mosquitoes. So right now, because it's relatively dry, if there's mosquitoes around your house, it's likely that it's Aedes aegypti because of sprinklers and sources that we as people are leaving around for them.
So it's really important to remember, and this is one thing that I took away when I've done some video stories with the mosquito control department, is that if you see a mosquito, it is coming from somewhere very close by, somewhere in your neighborhood, maybe on your property. And so then it becomes kind of your responsibility. If you want to help weed out these mosquitoes, it's really important that everyone takes their own responsibility and goes around their yard once a week and make sure. I know immediately after I started really diving into some of the things you guys do, this is a couple years ago, I went home and that same day after I got home from work, I went around and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a little pot. Oh, there's a plant. There's a kids' toys are another thing. You know, you leave out the kids' toys with any kind of saucer shape cup holder type thing where water can get in there. I mean, everyone's got kids' toys in their yard, it seems like.
Yeah.
So we are talking with Kylie Zerbel, our mosquito control manager here. I'm Bob Hoganson. You're listening to Official Access with Martin County on 1450 WSTU and 1590 PSL. Kylie, I'd like to say thank you so much for coming in today and sharing some of what the Mosquito Control Division is doing. Again, check your property. Make sure you're not helping breed these mosquitoes. You can go to the county website for more information. You can go to martin.fl.us, www.martin.fl.us, and there's a search bar there where you can literally just type in mosquito control, and you're going to get their page, and you're going to get a lot of information. There's phone numbers in there. There's email contacts, and really that goes for any department in the county. It's a very easily navigated website where you can search for any information you want. That's martin.fl.us. I would also suggest, for more information and follow county happenings, you check out our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Martin County Board of County Commissioners. But if you just search for Martin County Board of Commissioners, you should be able to pop it up real easy. We're also on Twitter. You can find us there with an easy search for Martin County, as well as Instagram. And so we're also posting lots of information on there. You're going to see a lot of information about mosquito control and what they're doing. You're going to see stuff about any number of things that the county is doing here at Martin County, and you'll find that on social media. Again, Bob Hoganson here with Official Access with Martin County. Kylie Zerbel, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be right back with some of your favorite departments in the entire county. We're talking about libraries coming up next. And welcome back to Official Access with Martin County on 1450 WSTU and 1590 WPSL. My name is Bob Hoganson. I'm the host for Official Access. We've had a great conversation with Kevin Abate, our Parks Director at Martin County, and Kylie Zerbel, our Mosquito Manager here in Martin County. But now, one of my favorite departments of all, ladies and gentlemen, Darlene Encomio with the library system. Thank you, Darlene, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Darlene is the Literacy, Education, and Outreach Manager, and I got to tell you, we have got such a cool library system here, and I think a lot of people know that. There's
Yes.
a lot of programs, a lot of cool stuff for sort of as small of a county as Martin County is. We offer so much cool stuff going on at the libraries, and you guys are constantly adding new things and new fun stuff. It seems like it's coming online every other month at different libraries around the county. Give me some of the basics for people that maybe don't know what the libraries do for us.
All right, so yes, we do have 6 different library locations, which range all the way from Indiantown to Jensen Beach. And we also have 2 locations that people may not know about, which is Gateway to the Arts, which is an art studio that has been grant funded for the past 3 years, thanks to a generous donation and funders of the Community Foundation for Palm Beach and Martin counties. And we're able to basically offer free art classes to the Golden Gate area in Stuart. And then another location is the Golden Gate Historical Building, which is actually run through the House of Hope. But we do provide some classes there. We have some books that people can check out. And so we are very excited about being able to expand the library locations to those off-site locations. But yes, we have libraries all throughout the county, and then most of them are open 6 days a week or 5 days a week. We have the Blake Library, which is now open on Sundays. People have been waiting for a library to be open every single day. And so in November of 2017, we were able to expand our Idea Lab at the Blake Library and have Sunday hours.
You know, I think that the idea of a library has changed so much over time. When you and I were kids, libraries were largely just places to check out books. Now, there may have been some reading programs and things like this, but they are really becoming technology centers. And these idea labs that you touched on are really amazing for the public. The Blake Library just opened their idea lab late last year, and I happened to be there for the ribbon cutting.
Yes, you were
and
there.
saw some of the great stuff. Talk about some of the things you can find at the Idea Labs and really what they mean for the community.
Well, this concept started with the Peter and Julie Cummings Library in Palm City in July of 2012. And the Idea Lab was really supposed to be a location where people could have content creation, get their hands on new technology, create films with green screens, have a studio to create music. And that idea really expanded to all the different locations. And so then we were able to open up one in the Elizabeth Lottie Library, which is out in Indiantown. And so there are STEM kits there. We have Makey programs. We have Spheros robotic balls and PlayStations. And we even have Rosetta Stone Language Learning Lab. And then there's a driving simulator, so kids or adults can practice their driving skills that way. And then there are even iMacs loaded with Adobe Creative Cloud for Photoshop, InDesign, Lightrooms, and more. Then we were able to open up the Hope Sound Idea Lab, which is really photography based. And so people are able to check out like virtual realities for your smartphone. There's a tabletop studio light kit for the kids to play with in the kids area. Lots of different things revolving around photography. And we have light kits, tripods, light boxes for photography, jewelry, clothing, and more. You can take pictures of things that you'd like to sell on perhaps eBay or Etsy. And then there's the Robert Moorgate Idea Lab, which has a flight simulator. And we have expanded the flight simulator classes to all day long on Fridays. And there are 6 one-hour classes every Friday. They are full right now, but you can go on the wait list. There is a flight club that beats the second Saturday of every month where they journey around America. So you basically fly throughout America. And this next year, they're going to be doing navigation training so that they can journey around the world. So you can expand your horizons just by sitting down in the Moorgate Library.
It's really interesting. I went out to the ribbon cutting of the Idea Lab in Indiantown at the Lottie Library, and the kids were just having a blast.
Yes.
And it's specifically out there, they have a lot of this STEM learning, science, technology,
Engineering and math.
Sort of things. I remember there were these. It was connected to a computer, and these little.
Those are the makey.
Little, I don't even know what you call them, little diodes, and you just touched them.
Yes,
or dipped your
clips.
hand with the alligator clips, and you dipped your finger in the water, and it played the music. There was also the like robotics sort of track there, if you will, where the little robotic cars can drive around. I think what's really cool is that the kids are playing and entertaining themselves, but they're also learning something about it while they're doing it.
Yes, and so we're actually going to we've created a series at the Blake Library, which will begin in April, called STEAM Sundays, and we'll have a lot of our STEM kits, which were sponsored by the Library Foundation through a generous donation through Claire and Molly Tyler. And some of these STEM kits actually have like Lego We-Dos in them. They have some of the makey-makeys you were talking about, introduction to coding. And so like kindergartners can start to learn how to code. I mean, this is amazing. And they get excited about it. And so we're basically paving the way for these kids to get excited about things that maybe they might not normally get excited about.
Well, I know that my son is 4, and he came to the ribbon cutting with me at the Idea Lab at the Blake, and you guys have that big Lego wall there, and he was like zoom right to the Lego wall. He sat there for about an hour just building stuff on the Lego wall. Just kind of talk about that kind of Lego wall. It's so cool.
Yes. So my son was also there, and he ran over to the Lego. He knew that we were creating the Lego wall for months.
He was just waiting for the ribbon cutting.
And he was waiting to use it. Yeah. And I think my husband was too.
Yeah.
But yes, so there is a Lego wall in the lobby of the Blake Library, and we weren't sure if it would get a lot of attention, but we put out an idea book for people to get ideas on what to create on the Lego wall. And so as soon as we put that out, we started to see like Pac-Man on the Lego wall. We saw My Little Pony, Star Wars. People had expanded to creating like the Empire State Building. And so it's a great way to bring the community together to share ideas. And I think the Lego wall is just a great representative of that. And in addition to the Lego wall at the Blake Idea Lab, we have the microfilm scanner, which has been getting a lot of use, both for people who are interested in finding things out from Stewart News many years ago. We also have a 3D printer.
That is so cool. That was one of the things that I was really checking out when I was there. Is you can load a program in there and print off pretty much anything.
Yes. And some of the great stories that I've heard around 3D printers are, we had a librarian who came to visit us a couple years ago from Chattanooga Library, which is in Tennessee. And it's the same area that the Mozilla founders, Firefox owners live. And so they're able to get a nice donation to have several 3D printers. But the example that she gave was that there was a dad who had a son who had a prosthetic hand, and he wasn't always able to find like the right spoon or fork for his son to use. And so he would actually go into the Chattanooga Public Library and use their 3D printer to print out a spoon that would be fitting for his son's prosthetic hand. And so we're hoping to see things like that at the Idea Lab. And of course, we have other things like a sewing embroidery machine, which has been getting a lot of use, the Cricut and the Ellison die cut. And there's also, for those business people or the workforce out there, there's a collaborative conference table. So there's this big smart TV, and you have all these plugins and chairs around a table that people are able to use whenever they need it.
and people can bring in their vinyl records and download it into MP3s. Talk about that. I know that's been a
Yes.
very popular, although vinyl's kind of coming back. People just want to keep listening on the vinyl. The record players I know are coming back. But, you know, a lot of people are still wanting those old albums on MP3 form on DVDs or CDs rather, or thumb drives or something like that, right?
Yes, so digitization is actually the theme of the Blake Idea Lab. And so not only is there a vinyl to MP3 or MP4 machine, but there's also the same thing for DVD or VHS converters. So if you're like me and you have like all these CDs and DVDs that are taking up a lot of space in your house.
You don't have a bunch of VHSs still, do you?
It's interesting that you ask, because as soon as I told my husband about this, he said, "But you just donated all my VHS to Goodwill." So I could have converted all of that, but I didn't. But I'm looking forward to actually converting the DVDs and the CDs to MP4.
Again, you're listening to Official Access with Martin County on WSTU 1450 and 1590 WPSL. I am your host, Bob Hoganson. I'm the operations manager for Martin County Television. With Martin County, on Martin County Television, you can find us on Comcast Channel 20 or AT&T UVerse Channel 99. You can also find us, and really anything to do with the county, at www.martin.fl.us. Of course, we're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You can just search for Martin County or Martin County Board of County Commissioners. We're having a great show today. Darlene Encomio is here with the Martin County Library System. Really appreciate you being here. Beanstack Reading App. What is that? I've been hearing a lot about this, and I'm hoping you can kind of break it down for me.
So we're very excited yet again to be able to offer a literary app. And Beanstack, I just did a little bit of research and found out that Beanstack started on Shark Tank.
There you go. So it's funded by Mark Cuban and his buddies up there.
Or what it is really is kind of an incentive or a reward system, or even for those that are looking to find out what to read next. It's a literary app that serves many different purposes. The great purpose that we're trying to inform people about right now is 1,000 books before kindergarten. So if you go onto our website, or if you go onto mcls.beanstack.org, you'll be able to sign up either yourself or your child to either read 1,000 books before kindergarten. If you register your child to start reading 1,000 books before kindergarten, you get a free book at the library. A nice quality book, either Dr. Seuss or Winnie the Pooh. We've got a nice little variety of books for those kids. Then you get that free book. And then you're also contributing to motivating and inspiring your child to get on a regular reading process. Or, you know, in our household, we end up always reading 3 books before we go to bed. And if we don't read that 3rd book, then the world is about to crumble. And it was something that we started, and we're very happy about it. But we do have to read 3 books, no less.
I know how that goes.
And my son will be going to kindergarten in the fall. And so sometimes we need that little reminder that we should be reading, you know, at least a book a day. And so 1,000 books before kindergarten just reminds us that we need to read those books. And so Beanstack also allows you to get weekly book recommendations for your child or for yourself. I get them, and it helps me to find out what I should read next. When you first register, it asks you what type of genre you like and what type of books you like. And so they'll send you actual book titles that are in the library that you should read next.
Really cool stuff. Of course, there's so many programs, but at the end of the day, there are also books to be read at the library. Real quick, before we wrap up the show, I'd like you to talk about some of the other programs sort of outside of the physical libraries. You're talking about the Chautauqua South concert series and educational series. Talk about that a little bit. We've recorded some stuff for MCTV. Most recently, you had a world-renowned violinist.
Yes, Gareth Johnson.
That was incredible. give me a quick little synopsis of some of those programs that people can enjoy.
Yes, we thank MCTV for coming out and covering some of this stuff, but we have a great array of programs during the Chautauqua South season, which is January through April. We're celebrating our 27th year. We have McCartney Mania, which is coming up on April 2nd. That is a ticketed event, so you want to make sure to get your tickets on Saturday, March 24th at 10:30 at the Blake Library. We have the Coastal Lecture Series, which is hosted by the Florida Oceanographic Society, and their next upcoming program will be on Monday, March 12th, and that's at 6:30 at the Blake Library for their Coastal Lecture Series. This year they're talking about organisms, ecosystems, and the human connection. We also have a wonderful program which we partner and collaborate with PBS. It's called POV Films, which is Point of View. They're documentary style films which focus on societal issues. The next one is Sunday, March 18th at 2 o'clock.
I'd like to thank Darlene and Comio for joining us today from the Martin County Library System. I'd also like to thank our other guests, Kevin Abate with the Parks and Recreation Department and Kylie Zerbel with Martin County Mosquito Control. I'm your host, Bob Hoganson. You've been listening to Official Access with Martin County on 1450 WSTU and 1590 WPSL. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter. You can find us on the internet at www.martin.fl.us, and that's a great starting place for any information you're looking for. There's a big search bar right on the top of the page where you can search for any information you want, including libraries. Darlene, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate all the information you provided. I hope that we provided you some information and education about some of the stuff going on in Martin County. Again, I'm Bob Hoganson for Official Access with Martin County. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Quit Coaches Corner on WSTU and WPSL. Lots of stuff to get to here as we've got high school basketball wrapping up. The state championships are this week. Always some football news to talk about, and of course baseball is now pretty much in full swing. We've got our first high school baseball broadcast coming up this Friday. We always love it when Martin County and South Fork get together, and that is exactly what is happening Friday night at 7 o'clock, so make sure to tune in here to WSTU 1450 for that game. We'll have more information on that a little bit later on throughout the show. So in the meantime, let's start with putting a bow on the high school basketball season, at least for the Treasure Coast teams, as our final team who is making their way through the tournament found themselves on the wrong side of the scoreboard last week. It happened in the regional semifinals. Treasure Coast was going up to take on the Osceola Cowboys, defending state champions. It was a rematch of last year's regional semifinals, where last year the game was close until Osceola pulled away for a 20-point win. Treasure Coast was a much better team this year. They came into the regional semifinals with a 26-1 record on the season. That is by far the best start for a team from St. Lucie County. And unfortunately for Treasure Coast, all of that didn't mean much when the game was going on last Tuesday night. It was a rough one for the Titans. They led only once in the game. Osceola scored first. They had that 2-0 lead. Tyreek Thompson would give Treasure Coast a 3-2 lead thanks to a 3-point shot from him. And that was about it for the Titans, certainly on the leaderboard. Osceola dominated the rest of the way. They went on a 16-0 run in the third quarter to really put the game away, as they won by 30 points this year, 68-38. Now, that doesn't mean that Treasure Coast didn't have their chances. They did have a chance in the third quarter right before that run from Osceola put them up for good, but Treasure Coast came out, started the third quarter with a 3-point shot from Thompson, and that made it a 4-point game. It was 29-25 early in the third quarter, but that run started, and the next time Treasure Coast scored, there was 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the third, and Osceola led by 18 points, 45-27. And it really was just, the Cowboys were just too much physically for Treasure Coast in their defense. Treasure Coast made their mark this year playing strong defense and smart basketball, and they just got outplayed physically in many cases. Omar Payne is the 6'9" center for Osceola, and he was too much to handle down low. He finished offensively with 12 points, including 4 dunks. They had the shooters on the perimeter. It was too much to ask. Tall order for Treasure Coast to get past Osceola, and it's easy to kind of look at a 30-point loss in the semifinals and think, oh, what a disappointment. But one of the important things to keep in mind, and I always go back to these words, was one of the first years I was covering high school basketball here on the Treasure Coast, and now the Port St. Lucie coach, John Piccarini, Coach Pick, was helping me out doing the broadcast back then, and he said, only one team is going to end the season with a win. Everybody else is going to lose, and when you get past the regional quarterfinal round, they're all really good teams, and Osceola was an especially good team coming off of a state championship. They had the confidence. They played great. They knocked out Vero Beach, and they knocked out Treasure Coast, and it just ended what was and what should be remembered as a fantastic season for the Titans, going 26-2. Their only loss on the regular season, of course, coming to Centennial High School, and after that, Treasure Coast won 10 in a row by an average margin of 20.6 points and really dominated some of their opponents. They weren't a perfect team, but they were a really, really good team. And Coach Kelly has built himself a fantastic program over there at Treasure Coast High School. So Treasure Coast, all of our local teams are done. state championships are this week. We've got the 5A Final Four, which will start tomorrow afternoon with Tampa Catholic taking on University and Pensacola Catholic taking on Trinity Catholic. Those games are tomorrow afternoon at 2. Then the 6A Final Four, the state semifinals, Rickards going up against Palatka at 6 with Booker and Leesburg following at 8 o'clock. The 7A state semifinals are going to be on Friday, March 9th in the morning, starting at 10 a.m. And then the 8A state semifinals will be Friday afternoon at 2. Creekside going up against Winter Haven, and St. Petersburg going up against Blanche Eli. And then finally, the 9A state semifinals will be Friday night, 6 o'clock. West Orange going against Oak Ridge, and Wellington going up against Miramar. The championship games can be played or will be played on Saturday. And just since you didn't hear Osceola's name there in the state finals or the state semifinals, Osceola did go on to lose in the regional finals to Oak Ridge by a final score of 57-54. Oak Ridge had a heck of a run through the tournament, through the regionals anyway. They dominated Riverview in the quarterfinal round by 35 points. They dominated Dr. Phillips by over 30 points and just barely squeaked by Osceola with that 57-54 win to send themselves into the state semifinals. So that's it for us when it comes to basketball. It was a fun season. It was a little bit of a disappointing season in some ways. Treasure Coast clearly the best team out of our area, and you always like it when we get one team to make it to at least a regional final, but just wasn't meant to be. And Treasure Coast ends their fantastic season with a 26-2 record. Let's talk football a little bit. We had some of the honors, the All-State honors coming out a couple of weeks ago. Haven't had a chance to really go through these. These were all named by FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. And Vero Beach, I don't think that should surprise anybody that they had some of the biggest names and biggest honors to make the list. Running back Akeem Dixon, we called his name a bunch over the year. He's phenomenal. Wide receiver DeMarcus Harris and offensive lineman Jarvis Jones, all named to the Class 8A first team there by FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, the All-State honors. Quarterback Nick Celedonio, defensive end David Reese, and defensive back Alan Glanville were named to the second team, and linebacker Andre Johnson was named to the third team. For Centennial High School, they had a couple of big names. This one just really surprised me. Quarterback Nick Barnes named to the first team All-State honors, threw for over 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns. I'm not saying that it surprised me because I didn't think he earned it, but I'm just surprised that Centennial got the recognition. Sometimes the teams here on the Treasure Coast don't really get the statewide recognition that they deserve, and Centennial was one of the surprise teams for the year last year. Remember, there was a long period of time, thanks to that new point system, that they were one of the top teams in Class 9A. It was really an impressive season that they were able to put together through the first half of the year, and they were able to hold on and really turn some heads throughout the season, and I think you can see that with Nick Barnes being named to the first team honors for football in 2008 or 2017. Defensive end George Bento made the second team, while wide receiver Antonio Schianti, defensive back Dwight Toombs, and kicker Riley Medlin were named to the third team. Treasure Coast got some names on the list. Offensive lineman Jeremiah James and defensive lineman Rashawn Yates named to the third team. Jensen Beach, Jamie and Sherwood, defensive back, an all-around stud athlete, named to the All-Star second team. Terrence Wilson, was an honorable mention for Fort Pierce Westwood. Running back Marquez Burgess and wide receiver Khalil Hayes were named to the second team, with defensive back Willie Lewis getting honorable mention. Burgess was a fantastic running back this year. He really was something to behold. And Westwood, even through their struggles, which I hope we can say is firmly behind them now, but they had those years of really struggling to put together a good football team and even a respectable football team for a lot of that time. But it never felt like the problem was the individual talent of the players. They always had very talented people playing for Westwood. I don't know what the issue would have been. Sometimes you just get that mindset of losing, and you got to buy into a system and put in the hard work in order to have success on the football field. And if you've bought into the idea that your team's a loser, it's hard to make those sacrifices. I don't know if that's it or not, but certainly Westwood seems to have had that behind them. They had a fantastic year this year, and it was in no small part due to the running of Marquez Burgess. So congratulations to him being named to the All-State second team honors. And Port St. Lucie, a couple of guys there with honorable mentions. Running back Montavious Yearby, linebacker DeAndre Douglas, and defensive back Donald Rutledge, all making the mark. Of course, the big football story last week was that Fort Pierce Central coach Brad Paulson has stepped down. He cited personal reasons. He was finishing up his first year as head coach for Fort Pierce Central, and the team went just 2-6 last year. But it's really hard to take a look at the record and make a determination of how talented Fort Pierce Central was last year and what kind of coach and what kind of job Coach Paulson did as the head coach for the year, because you have to remember that Hurricane Irma threw the whole state in disarray. And it's going to be hard enough on any program to have to work through the issues brought on by a hurricane and missing time out on the practice field, and your players are scattered. People were evacuating the state. People were all over the place. It's really hard to keep in mind that really wreaks havoc on any team, let alone a team with a new head coach trying to install a relatively new season. Now, Coach Paulson was the offensive coordinator the year before, so it's not like it was brand new, and it's not like the team didn't know Coach Paulson at all. But when you play your first game of the season and then you wait 27 days, you wait over 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks before you play your second game, that's going to take a toll on a lot of people. So Coach Paulson, he announced that he was stepping down as head coach over at Fort Pierce Central. He wants to stick with the school. He's the girls' weightlifting coach and an assistant track coach, and said that he wanted to stick around with them. It's not like he's going to take on a job at a different school. And this is the third straight season that Fort Pierce Central is looking for a new head coach. Remember, we had Coach Schaefer, who stepped down after bringing that team and making them a state powerhouse. Matt Helmrich was hired, but he left after 1 year for a job in Georgia, and now Coach Paulson is stepping down. And the resignation brought up questions of pay for football coaches. We mentioned this very briefly last week. We kind of ran out of time on this, but there's a really good article on the TC Palm website about coaches' pay, and it's by John Santucci, who does a fantastic job covering high school football here on the Treasure Coast. And it really details how underpaid these high school football coaches are. And I'm very surprised that the article even made me believe that, because I'm usually one of the people that complains about coaches making too much money, especially at the college level. It really bothers me that when you're talking about some of the big programs out there, how much these football coaches are making, and yet the players aren't getting much, and still that's money that could be going back into the school, back into the program, even if it's not going to the players. It's kind of crazy that in most states, the highest paid state employee is the football coach at the state university. There's something wrong with that mindset. So I am usually one to believe that at the very least, college coaches are drastically overpaid. But when you look at what the high school coaches have to do, the amount of money that they get paid certainly seems woefully inadequate. And part of the problem is it seems that we've asked these football coaches to take on more and more responsibility over the years, and the pay hasn't caught up. And in the article, they speak with South Fork coach Mike Lavelle, and he said that when he was growing up, his dad, of course, Coach Dennis Lavelle out there at South Fork High School for many, many years, when he was coaching a couple of decades ago, it wasn't a year-round position. It was something where you would coach the players for a couple of months, and then they would move on to the other sports, and that was it. Your job as football coach was over. That is not the way it is anymore for these high school football coaches. There's off-season weightlifting programs. There's just all kinds of responsibility that requires you and your coaching staff to be involved year-round. And when you take into account the amount of hours that go into a single season of coaching high school football, and you compare that to the stipend that they get paid, it's not an hourly position. They get a lump sum fee when it's all said and done. When you take that into consideration, they're getting paid less than minimum wage in some cases. And it's not like these are just football coaches. In many cases, they're teachers, maybe math teacher, physics teacher. It's not just the PE coach. All right. These are full-time positions, and then you have a full-time job or maybe two full-time jobs that you're adding in on top of it. So it's a very interesting article. I encourage everyone to go out there and read it. It's on TC Palm. It's about a week old now, a little bit over that, and it talks and really details the pay that some of the high school coaches get and how underpaid Florida coaches are in comparison to other states. And you're seeing an exodus of talent when it comes to coaches. That they could be fantastic coaches, but if they want to be able to provide for their families, they've got to go to Georgia and to some of the other states where they're going to make more money to be a high school football coach. And we ask a lot of high school football coaches, besides the hours that they put in some cases, high school football coach is responsible or can be responsible for getting your kid into college. If you're hoping that your kid is going to get an athletic scholarship, well, the head coach has a lot to do with it. They work on building relationships with college to keep recruiting going. They help the students put together their recruiting reels, make sure that they learn what they need to learn in order to succeed at the college level. They learn what they need to learn in order to be an adult, to mature, to get to a point where they don't screw it up for themselves. I can't tell you how many coaches have to constantly coach up their students and their kids not to post stupid and offensive things on Twitter and Facebook because coaches look at it. Future employers look at it. So it's a lot more than just teaching X's and O's on a football field. And in many ways, a good high school football coach maybe can be the difference between your son or daughter making it to college under a sports scholarship or not. And if you want to attract the best talent, you're going to have to pay them. And it certainly seems to me that the high school football coaches are drastically underpaid for everything that we are asking them to do. And we need to either decide that they should get paid a little bit more, or maybe we should back off and let them have a little bit more of a life and stop asking so much of them. I don't see that happening, though. I don't see us suddenly all agreeing that high school football coaches can go back to working from August until November, and then they don't see the kids again until a month in May, and then that's it. Somehow I think the cat's out of the bag, and that the idea that coaches are going to be working year-round with their students is here to stay. So the only other thing that maybe you could potentially actually work on is finding ways to get them some more money in their pay. Interesting concept, like I said. There's a great article from John Santucci in the TC Palm. At the very least, you should read it and make up your own mind on whether or not high school football coaches should get paid. Before we get out of here today, do want to mention that high school baseball is in full swing. We've had a couple of weeks now under our belts. We're going to start focusing much more attention to it here in just a couple of days, because coming up on Friday night, we have the first of our high school baseball broadcasts of the year. It is going to be South Fork taking on Martin County High School out at Martin County. It's the 34th annual Rob Souza Memorial Classic. Souza, if you don't remember, was a star pitcher at Martin County back in the late 70s and early 80s. He graduated from Martin County in 1981, went on to play 3 seasons at Miami, the University of Miami, where he started 57 games. He was drafted by the Tigers in 1984, spent some time in their minor league system before he was tragically killed in a 1985 car crash at the age of just 21 years old. Well, since then, every time South Fork and Martin County get together, the first game of the year, they hold it in honor of Robbie Souza, and usually they get a member of his family to come out and throw out the first pitch, and it's always a wonderful night, keeping his memory alive. And this year it will be Robbie Souza's father throwing out the first pitch. So make sure to get on out to Martin County High School for that game. It'll be a important game to get out there and see. South Fork has won the last 3 Robbie Souza Classics in a row, including last year's 5-3 win, but Martin County does lead the series 18-15 all time. And when you look at the records for these two teams, South Fork is on a trajectory, unfortunately, for the Bulldogs, struggling right now during the early part of the season, while Martin County seems to have found their groove. Martin County has won 4 games in a row now after a Saturday win over Okeechobee, beating them 5-4. Brandon Mondragon went 2 for 3 in the game, had a home run, and scored 2 runs, while the Alex Albertini and Richard Pfluger combined for 13 strikeouts on the mound. So Martin County, with a 5-4 win over Okeechobee on Saturday, improves to 5-1 on the season. South Fork got shut out by Jensen Beach on Friday, and it was a 4th straight loss for the Bulldogs, dropping their record to 1-4. But that's okay, because we always throw out the records when South Fork and Martin County get together. Make sure to tune in live. That's going to be Friday night here on WSTU and online at WSTU1450.com. That's going to do it for us here this week on the Quit Talk Coaches Corner. We will be back next Tuesday night. You're listening to WPSL and WSTU.